Next on the agenda, we have approval of 3 referendum questions to be voted on by the residents of Dolton on June 28, 2022. First one is a referendum establishing a recall mechanism, which would allow the electoral to recall and remove the village president, mayor of the village of Dolton. And then the second question is a referendum recalling and removing myself, Tiffany A. Henyard, and as village president, mayor of the village of Dolton. Is there a motion?
Hi, you guys. Welcome back. So I am back with my Tiffany Henyard saga I dubbed the road to recall. Now, to not get it confused so people don't think it's clickbait or it's something else that it's not, this is the Tiffany Henyard saga, which I dubbed called the road to recall, where I make videos and we look back on past board meetings where there are certain things that happened that might have triggered the trustees wanting to recall Tiffany Henyard. So I wanted to put this little disclaimer in here because my last video I did on this subject, some people were calling it clickbait, okay? And looking back in hindsight, I can understand their perspective, and I myself don't like to be a victim of clickbait. So I will own up to maybe the way I worded it was a bit clickbaity, could have been, I don't know. I guess in my mind, I made the title with the assumption that people would go back and watch the other videos on it, but I should know, being in YouTube as long as I have, it's very rare that people actually go back and watch your older videos. So that was a mistake on my part. So that being said, let's move on. So in this video, we are going to look at basically Tiffany Henyard's reaction, okay, to her being recalled, attempted recall. The recall didn't go through because there was some technicalities with it. There were 2 specific things wrong with the way the trustees tried to recall her. The first one is this.
First one is a referendum establishing a recall mechanism, which would allow the electoral to recall and remove the village president, mayor of the village of Dolton.
So what she just said is the first thing the trustees were attempting to put on the referendum is the mechanism to recall Tiffany Henyard. Now let's listen to the second reason why this recall was not successful.
And then the second question is a referendum recalling and removing myself, Tiffany A. Henyard, and as village president, mayor of the village of Dolton.
So the second one was the actual recalling of Tiffany Henyard. So the problem with the process and how the trustees did it is that they put both of these questions on the ballot at the same time. So they put in calling for the mechanism to recall her, and then they put in the actual recall. And that was the reason why the judge threw the recall out and said it was not valid, because they were supposed to do these 2 things separately. So I hope that clears it up, you guys, as to why the actual recall didn't go through, because there was enough votes. Let's get that clear, okay? Let's get that crystal clear.
So let's be crystal clear, crystal clear.
All right, like Tiffany was like, she was literally recalled. It was just a technicality, and there can be some argument there as to her hookups, you know what I'm saying? As to who she knows behind the scenes, because I do know she is friends with a judge, and that is one of the judges that swore her in her inauguration, but that wasn't the judge who actually kind of dismissed this whole recall thing. It was a whole separate judge, but just the fact that she does have those government ties with a lot of people kind of makes you wonder, okay? And those are just accusations.
People can assume, make accusations about what's going on, but no one knows better than you.
Those are just theories, all right? But yeah, let's go ahead and move on with this board meeting, because if it's one thing we know about Tiffany, she likes the confrontation. So she's going to ask the board members why they want to recall her. Like, why would they? She's just been nothing but perfect. All right, let's watch.
Is there a motion to approve B, the 3 referendum questions?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Any discussion? And do anyone have any discussion?
Can I be recognized, Mayor?
Sure, go ahead. You breaking up?
So you guys, since Kiana's connection is spotty, I'll just explain her reasons. So she said over the last 6 months, there's been a hostile environment between the mayor and the trustees. Yeah, pretty much. We can see that. And Kiana also stated there are several ordinances that the mayor has been in violation of. and that they've sent Tiffany emails regarding the ordinances, but of course they go ignored and Tiffany keeps violating them. Kiana also mentioned something about Tiffany being given a directive about something, but then Tiffany's still doing whatever she wants to do. Kiana also talks about Tiffany accusing them of not wanting to participate in the village events and all this stuff that Tiffany holds. But Kiana points out that over the last 6 months, there were 17 flyers for the different events, and only one of them had the board of trustees on them. Now, this I can believe because we know how Tiffany does her flyers and her PR. The main person on them is Tiffany, no matter what it is. Even when it came to remembering 9/11. For some reason, she thought it was a good idea to have a large image of her on the flyer instead of like a picture of a memorial, a flag, American flag or something, for something pertaining to 9/11. No, she decided that she would be the best representation for the remembrance of 9/11. Okay. Kiana also said that Tiffany makes decisions solely based on herself, basically, calling her selfish and things like that. She didn't actually call her selfish, but we know what she meant. But probably one of the most major accusations that Kiana brings up is that Tiffany may have been altering documents of people that she previously hired since there was a new ordinance passed regarding advice and consent about hiring. This is because when Tiffany became mayor, she came in guns blazing, okay, hiring whoever she wanted to hire without doing background checks because she was in such a rush to just get people in there and to say, hey, look what I'm doing. I'm making change. I'm hiring people. I'm doing this and that, but not doing the proper background checks. And that's how they ended up with a code enforcer who was a registered child offender. And then she even admitted during one of the board meetings that she hired Keith Freeman and his background check still hadn't come back yet.
Again, this is not the correct way to do it. We found out about him when we got the agenda. We talked to him on Sunday for 20 minutes. Again, no background check was given, even though we implemented, we passed it to get the background, that still hasn't been given. We got his resume as we were talking to him. So this mayor was a trustee for 8 years. This was not brought across the board the right way. It's the last minute and then it's forced on us. And then you wonder why we do this. This is the wrong way to do this. You complained about this for 8 years. You did it all wrong. You can't get this to us on Sunday. We talked to him on Sunday for 20 minutes. That wasn't even enough time for two trustees to talk to him. And I told him today when I talked to him, you don't have the vote. We don't have the vote because we don't know him. We don't have enough time to sit down to vet him to get our right answers. And then this mayor had a history of hiring people without the correct background check. So there's no background check on him right now. We don't know. So if you do it the correct way, Mayor, which you know how to do, because you complained about it heavy for 8 years, you're doing it wrong. You cannot just force this on. You have to work with your board, Mayor. You have to work with your board.
All I'm asking is to stop doing that. Go before the body and get your approval. That's it. That's it. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm done.
Remember that statement that you said over and over again? You're not working with your board. You're forcing this on us and you're just shoving it down our throat. You have to learn to work with the board, period.
I was concerned that there was not a background check completed at this time. I would like to see the process done in its entirety, and then the presentation and move forward. But I have nothing against Mr. Freeman. I believe he's a good qualified person from the recommendations I've been given. I just would like the process to be followed from start to finish.
We need Keith Freeman. We need a village administrator. And I would hope the Board of Trustees would have supported this because the guy is actually really talented, a wealth of information, highly connected. And it's something that we do need for Dolton currently now. So look at that. And as it relates to background checks, from my understanding, he did do a background check. So it's coming up as it relates to you guys saying we didn't do processes right. That's not true.
Mayor, if I could be recognized on this.
Yep, go ahead, trustee.
I just want to make sure I'm really clear on this one. During my interview with Mr. Freeman, as well as Ms. McGraw, I asked the question, was a background check done and when were we moving forward? Trustee Norwood was there with me as well. And at the time, Mr. Freeman indicated, no, thank you.
Okay, well, just so you know, he do have a background pending now. So you can know that the background is being done. as it relates to anything else. Everything else y'all said y'all liked about him. So again, I don't understand what will be the issue.
A background was done today. Anybody that's hired for any position anywhere does not start until the background comes back eligible. And the process this year that we all agreed on some time ago is that we will run background checks. And once that background check comes back eligible, he's good to go. So let's follow that process moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, well, I thank everybody. So once his background come back, y'all let me know. We can have a special meeting and move forward. But until then, he will be starting here in the village of Dolton. So thank everybody for your comments.
Yeah, Keith Freeman, also known as Keith the Thief Freeman, who got fired.
Is there a motion to terminate Keith Freeman? Keith Freeman, I know you're watching. You no longer works for the village of Dolton. Please turn in your keys, turn in all your stuff. HR reach out to you tomorrow as relates to your fire.
By Tiffany, supposedly, but then he's still the village administrator now because I think he has a whistleblower status because, his background's a hot mess anyway. So he has to protect himself. So yes, that was her admitting to hiring the village administrator without a background check. And this is a very important job to the village. Now, a major key point Kiana talks about is the spending. She mentions the spending on events, but she also raises some concern about the spending when moving money, about how things are being documented with the spending. And she mentions when they vote on something that's a line item, it is then later moved to another line item. And Kiana says that when they vote on something to be paid, it should be official. So basically, Kiana is accusing Tiffany of misappropriation of funds. And she's accusing her of this by saying, hey, we vote on something to be paid in a certain line item and it says something, but then later on, that is switched up to something different and then maybe switched to a different line item. That is what I get from what you said. Okay. I'm not saying direct quote from her, but that is the underlying accusation of what Kiana is saying to Tiffany. And for anyone who doesn't know, misappropriations of funds is just basically using funds for different things than what it was originally intended for. That's just the simplest way to put it. So naturally, Tiffany is not happy about this accusation. Let's listen.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and they told me don't be long-winded today, but you guys put it up for a vote. I'm so happy that the board is changed here in the village of Dolton. It's related to the old unit that was once before us. Community came out in droves and voted for a new government body, a new direction, and then not only that, a younger board. We all are young in age. I can't say why, but we are young in age, and I'm just happy that I'm able to do the great things for my town.
So as we can see, the narcissism is always on full blast with Tiffany Henyard. The thing about this whole little speech she's going to give, she's trying to sound professional and trying to sound like she's not stooping down to any levels, but that's exactly what she's doing. Let's watch.
I was a trustee for 8 years, and then I became mayor, making history. And there never has ever been a woman mayor in the village of Dolton. So the crazy part about all of this is I ran with 2 people here. And I've said this and I'll say it again, so it's on the record for a voting meeting. I ran with trustee House and I ran with trustee Belcher. And I told them this and I'll tell them again. Everyone came to me for my support. I gave it. Everyone came to me for my base. I've given that. The crazy part is these people are individuals I once called friends.
So first of all, I don't believe that she believes in friends. Okay. I think she's always too busy playing politics, what she calls politricks. But the main thing is she expects people to stay loyal to her no matter her decisions. And the trustees are trying to get across to her like, hey, yes, we ran on your ticket. We all ran on the same ticket, but then that ticket was based on transparency. And it seemed that that transparency went right out the door when she became mayor. Because like I've said in previous videos, she immediately shut down the citizens' voices by shutting down citizens' address. She started hiring people without bringing them before the board. Just a whole host of things to why the trustees have gotten up to this point so far. So let's go ahead and continue.
People that I wouldn't thought in a million years will sit here and put up a recall against myself. I've done nothing wrong. I've said this several times. I haven't done anything as it relates to theft, corruption, briberies, kickbacks, nothing. So normally when you want to recall anyone, you have all those issues. The things that you guys are speaking of are of personal issues with me, just like I have personal issues with you. But as a leader, you don't hear me saying, I got this, and that. I go down the line on each and every one of y'all, and y'all know I can. I've done it. But I'm not doing that today to say your flaws or what I don't like or what y'all didn't vote for or anything. But I will say this. As it relates to Trustee Belcher was stating, I was violating ordinances and things of that nature. Untrue statement. We argue over minute things that I feel could have been fixed, rectified, but no trustee wanted to do anything as relates to fixing our broken home. I've tried to reach out to you guys. I've tried to do retreat with you guys. None of y'all wanted to do any of it. You won't even answer the phone for me. And that is my issue as it relates to being your leader.
So yes, they don't want to answer her phone calls because they don't want to talk over the phone with her when she can't even respond to their emails. Okay. It's like she wants to talk over the phone so it's off the record when she's the one that's constantly saying for the record. All right. Put it in emails, put it in writing for the records. And I think that's what the trustees saw early on, is that she was not one to really respond to emails. How do we know this? Well, for one, her former chief of staff, Nikita Cloud, actually accused her of this.
Now, let me tell y'all something. Have y'all ever emailed Tiffany? Because, you know, she has never, since she's been the mayor, responded herself to an email.
So, you know, you could look at that and you can say, oh, she's just bitter. She just mad. That's her former chief of staff. And she's no longer, you know, in the favor of the super mayor, you know, if you're a super mayor fan. But then let's go ahead and look at a former citizens address type video that Tiffany actually did addressing the citizens. And let's see what she has to say about her email, because it's very telling. Let's watch.
Later on, about Nikita McGrath on board as my PR. She's been doing an awesome job, and I thank her. She holds many, many titles, and I know a title don't make a person. They just does the job. And when I say she gets the job done, she gets the job done. And I am so for women, empowering women, and women movement. So if you need that, reach out again. And again, I used to get my email, but she checks my email anyway. So I'm gonna give you Nikita's email again. Please bring those items to Village Hall or contact, Nikita, you're gonna be a busybody. Nikita and this is her email again, and address is 300 West Sibley. Would you please bring it to my office? You either can, again, go send it to Nikita. She handles all my emails. But my email is thenyard@vo.org. Again, it's thenyard@vo.org. But her email, and I keep saying her because she's going to check my email anyway. And I keep repeating this because I want you guys to know the proper channel so you can get your questions answered.
Ever. She didn't even have access because she said she don't like responding to emails.
All right, you guys. So we know how Tiffany feels, and I'm going to let her express a little bit more how she feels about this recall. But let's hear from some other trustees first and how they feel and what their reasons are.
Anybody else?
Yeah, ma'am. May I be recognized?
Go ahead.
And from the very beginning, compromise has always been a concern with you in regards to your leadership. I feel as if you're the mayor. The mayor is ultimately the leader, and every good leader has to know how to follow. Also, I think that you use your platform as a dictatorship as opposed to working with the board. You have your things that you want to put into action, and you never even discuss them with the board. And I think that that's majority of our problem. I think that my first alarm came with the overspending was with the inauguration. I know you stated that you made history and that was good, but when I seen $14,000 on the warrant list, that was appalling to me, when normally past administrations and everyone all around the board normally spends about $1,000. My concern is also the overspending. I remember when we went over the budget, it came time for us to discuss the budget. I know that the trustees could have proposed the budget, but we allowed you to do so just as a means of compromising. I know that when it came to the administration part of the budget, we all had some concerns. I know that you wanted to spend about $550,000 in terms of that part, and we wanted to go with about $250,000. So I said to you, well, hey, Mayor, how about we compromise? Can we meet in the middle? Because we're kind of concerned about the spending. And you stated to me that you didn't want to compromise, and you didn't. So
let's talk about some of Brittany Norwood's points about why she's on board with the recall. First, she mentioned, compromising. And you guys, I feel in any relationship, business, personal, or friendship, compromise is the number one thing that you both have to learn how to do. So if you find yourself dealing with someone who does not like to compromise, get away from that person, okay? Because that shows that they are a very selfish person. That is a major red flag, in my opinion, okay? I'm not a professional relationship therapist or anything like that. That's just my opinion from experience in life. So she mentioned that she wasn't willing to compromise on the budget, even though they ended up giving her full reign on the budget the first time around. My thinking is that Tiffany didn't want to compromise because she had already promised certain people certain salaries, okay? Because we know she deals in cronyism and she likes to keep the people that are loyal to her the most satisfied. So I feel that was the main reason why she did not want to compromise on that budget for administration, which is just mainly Tiffany's staff and the people that she's allowed to hire. Another thing that Brittany said is that in order for Tiffany to be a good leader, she should know how to follow. And I'm pretty sure we know Tiffany doesn't follow anyone. She'll credit certain people for being a mentor to her and everything, just like she credited former Thornton Supervisor Frank Zuccarelli of being a close friend and mentor to her. But then she also turned around and did something a little suspicious. She made accusations that there was a lot of theft going on in his administration. So if you're accusing his administration, aren't you ultimately accusing him because he's the one that ran the administration? That's just my thoughts. But let's go ahead and watch.
A good friend of mine's passed today. A lot of people don't know how close me and Zuccarelli was, but we was really, really close. As my mentor and my dear friend, I had a personal connection with his inspiration and goodwill. The best we can do to honor his memory is to continue to follow what he stood for. I will miss you, Frank Zuccarelli. You my true friend, and I will live up to your name of people working with people. That's all he cared about. He had a heart for the people. He had a heart for community. I am really for my community. They mad because they can't stop me. They mad because they can't compete with me. That's why they did the smear campaign. But don't worry, because every dog out their day. But I'm going to point it out, and I'm going to let you know all the people behind all the mess and all the people that have been stealing at this township since day one. But they mad because they not here no longer.
So you guys get the point, the constant hypocrisy, blame shifting, pointing fingers at everyone else, That way the attention can be away from her, naturally. But let's get back to her defense as to why she should not be recalled. And we're going to look at how she defends herself against Kiana Belcher's accusations of her ignoring the ordinances that they put in place for her to kind of curb her hiring people without background checks, all the things she's been doing. Let's watch.
So, violation of ordinances. You guys are in complete violation of the ordinances that are on the books now. We have an ordinance that states meetings of how they are structured and when they happen. The ordinance states, and I can recite this, we have one board meeting on the 1st and 3rd of every Monday of each and every month, unless it's a holiday or something wrong.
So instead of her addressing her faults and what was actually brought up to what she's doing, she's going to totally ignore that. She's going to not take any accountability for that. And instead, she's going to bring up the trustees and how they're violating ordinances. Like I said, classic blame shift. classic smoke and mirrors, classic gaslighting and projection. Okay, she's projecting the things she's doing onto the trustees, and she's gaslighting them by blatantly saying that, hey, you're wrong, I'm not in violation of any ordinances, when we know that's not true. The trustees are not just going to make things up and just start accusing her of things she's not actually doing. At least that's how I feel.
You guys wanted to do the recall so bad that you sat here and created basically a cow meeting on Monday before the actual voting meeting to talk about the 3 referendum questions. It should have went like it always goes, the structure, at the 3rd Monday of the month, but you guys chose to create your own laws and make up your own thing to benefit self. And that's what I have a problem with this board. You guys make up things all the time just to benefit self. It does not get vetted through the proper channel. You guys do not follow the laws as it stands now, but yet you point out what you guys have a problem with me as the mayor, and that's a problem for me. And the reason why it's a problem is we all got elected by the people. That's what y'all keep failing to realize. The people elected us. Let me remind you, I've gotten 82% of the vote. That means that what? Residents wanted me as their mayor, and they wanted a change for Dolton.
So you guys, I'm going to spare you the rest of her little speech. It's just more of blaming the trustees. Like I said, accusing them of things she's doing.
You guys make up things all the time just to benefit self. It does not get vetted through the proper channel.
You know, like when she hired Keith without a background check, things of that nature. And then, you know, she goes on and on about all the great things she's done since she's been a mayor, blah, blah, blah. We've heard it all before. But that's going to be it today, you guys. I will pick back up on this whole recall situation, attempted recall. But once again, you guys, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to leave it a like. And if you're new here, subscribe.
And we're getting things done that haven't got done over 8 years that I've been on this board. But as a leader, a true leader, know how to come in and implement change. And that's exactly what I've done. I made sure I brought the right staff in.